Patriots, the world just witnessed what real American leadership looks like. From Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump has issued what might be the most powerful ultimatum of his political career. His message to Hamas and their backers is clear. Release every hostage before January 20th, 2025, or face consequences unlike anything in history. While Biden hides from questions about Hunter's pardon, Trump is showing exactly how a real president handles our adversaries. Got exclusive reactions from global leaders, and wait until you hear how this declaration is already reshaping Middle East dynamics. And when Trump talks about protecting hostages abroad, he understands what truly matters: protecting our own. Think about it. Your personal data is being held hostage right now by big tech and foreign hackers. Don't let your private information become a bargaining chip. VirtualShield's award-winning protection secures your devices with the same determination Trump brings to international security. Get maximum protection at minimum cost. Visit virtualshield.com/nextnews now. For an exclusive 75% discount and a 7-day free trial. Stand strong against cyber threats with virtualshield.com/nextnews. And we thank them for their sponsorship of this program. So everyone's freaking out today over this post Donald Trump made on Truth Social. Everybody's talking about the hostages who are being held so violently, inhumanely, and against the will of the entire world in the Middle East, but it's all talk and no action. Please let this truth serve to represent that if the hostages are not released prior to January 20th, the date that I proudly assume office as President of the United States, there will be all hell to pay in the Middle East. And for those in charge who perpetrated these atrocities against humanity, those responsible will be hit harder than anybody has been hit in the long and storied history of the United States of America. Release the hostages now. Yes, everybody's freaking out because Donald Trump has threatened the Middle East. He has threatened. I mean, why are we still even talking about hostages in the Middle East? Where's Joe Biden? They can't get these guys out? I mean, my biggest fear is that they're already passed. They're already gone. There's no one to negotiate for. But this should have been taken care of a long time ago. And it's just another symptom of the failed leadership of the Biden administration. Donald Trump, not even assuming office yet, has already stated there will be hell to pay. Bring them home now. Okay? So, Kash Patel, we'll get to that in a second. Now, here is this. I believe this was the Republican National Convention. Very similar language, but this was at the RNC.
We want our hostages back, and they better be back before I assume office, or you will be paying a very big price.
Bring our hostages back, or you will be paying a very big price. Now, listen to this. This is from 3 days ago. They say here that the political shift in the U.S. could resolve the hostage crisis. But good people are feeding Trump's team the notion that the hostages are dead. That's what I just said. Israel's intel believes at least half of the 101 hostages, including Omari, are alive. Let's listen here.
To Trump or any of his people. Are you hopeful for your brother-in-law's release now that President President Trump is taking power?
Thank you so much for having me. I think any political change could bring positive results for the situation. We've been on a stalemate for so long, and President Trump promised during his campaign, both in private meetings with families of hostages, with the Families Hostage Forum, and publicly, that he wants to see this war ends with the return of the hostages. I trust he will do that.
Have you spoken to Mr. Trump or any of his people?
Families have been speaking with Trump directly, speaking with his people. I don't think since the election, but we have spoken with some of his associates in the transition team since the election. And what we are understanding is that there is going to be a push to solve the situation. During the campaign, Trump said again and again, a war is not ideal for the United States, not for Israel. And holding the hostage is not something we can accept as an international community. It's a war crime. It's an unacceptable situation that we cannot tolerate and normalize. And I believe, like he did in his first term, he released American hostages from places like Venezuela, like Iran. I believe he will release the 7 American hostages held by Hamas and the rest of the Israeli hostages held by.
Now, I want to talk about the J6 political hostages here in the United States. We're going to get to that in a second because there is a parallel. However, we have this message. This is from Mike Lawler. The Trump administration is going to crack down on Iran and Hamas. As a result, we're going to continue seeing rapid movement towards real ceasefire and the release of hostages. Trump isn't even in office yet, folks.
Is, of course, I know you also were eager to talk about the situation in the Middle East. And, of course, we saw that heartbreaking video from the Israeli-American hostage, Adan Alexander.
You know, I do have that video that she's talking about here. This is it right here.
My name
Oh, hang on.
is Adan Alexander.
We lost the connection on that. Hang on. We'll get it back. Here it is.
Is Adan Alexander. I am an American Israeli citizen currently being held captive in the Gaza Strip. As an American, I've always believed in the power of the United States, and now I'm sending my message. Use your influence and the full power of the United States to negotiate for our freedom. Every day here feels like an eternity, and the pain from inside grows. Dear President Trump, my name is Adan Alexander. I am an American.
Do you notice this is an American being held hostage? But you notice he's not addressing Joe Biden. Why not? Right? It's because Biden has no power and no respect on the world stage, no ability to actually negotiate. This guy is talking to the president-elect to get something done. Let that sink in for a second. Okay? That just goes to show you what is really happening. Now let's go back to this MSNBC clip.
From some of your colleagues on Capitol Hill, notably Lindsey Graham, who is, of course, a supporter and ally of Donald Trump's, who said that the incoming president wants to see a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas before he is inaugurated. Do you think that's a plausible reality?
Look, I think you're seeing very quickly world leaders come to the table. You saw, obviously, the Prime Minister of Canada fly down to Mar-a-Lago. You saw the President of Mexico respond very quickly to the President's tweet the other day about the issue of tariffs and cracking down on cartels. I think what you're seeing in the Middle East is movement. People recognize that Donald Trump is going to crack down on Iran in a way, frankly, this administration has not. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the illicit oil trade has exploded to over $200 billion. That is what has funded Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and other terror networks. Obviously, with Prime Minister Netanyahu and the IDF taking out the leadership of Hezbollah and Hamas, and President Trump coming into office, there is more pressure now on these entities to enter into a ceasefire. I think, obviously, it was welcome news that Hezbollah entered into a ceasefire. We'll see how long that lasts. But I think the bottom line with Hamas is very simple. Release the hostages and surrender. The United States needs to use maximum pressure, including on Qatar, to get the hostages out. It is outrageous that we still have 7 Americans being held hostage, 4 presumed living, 3 deceased. And this should be the top priority of both the current administration and the incoming administration, to get these hostages out. I have met with every one of these hostage families multiple times, including the Alexander family. It is heartbreaking to watch that video yesterday, and a shameful reminder that a terrorist organization has been allowed to hold 7 Americans hostage for over 400 plus days. It is outrageous.
That's because Joe Biden has no spine and no ability to take action. Conservative Patriot, one day ago, Donald Trump responds to Biden's pardon of his son Hunter. Does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the J6 hostages who've now been in prison for years? Think about this now, okay? Donald Trump saying there will be hell to pay if Hamas does not release the hostages. Donald Trump is not the commander-in-chief. Donald Trump can't just, pick up the red phone and, order a strike on Hamas and say, get it done. No, he can't do that. But by simply putting out a post on Truth Social, he can do that. Think about the power he wields with just a simple post. Okay? And this post here, we're dealing with multiple hostages. We have hostages in Israel, Hamas, and we also have hostages right here on our own soil. And President Trump has vowed to release those hostages as well. Remember when he said this?
The moment I win the election, I will appoint a special task force to rapidly review the cases of every political prisoner who has been unjustly persecuted by the Biden administration so that I can sign their pardons or commutations on day one. And I will ensure.
And then we have this. Here is, we have Karl Rove. He's outraged. Outraged. And he attacks Donald Trump for saying, if elected, he will pardon J6 defendants.
And a jewel, if they were smart, they'd take the January 6th and go hard at it. And they would say, he wants to pardon these people who attacked our Capitol. I worked in that building as a young man. To me, the Congress of the United States is one of the great examples of the strength of our democracy and a jewel of the Constitution. And what those people did when they violently attacked the Capitol in order to stop a constitutionally mandated meeting of the Congress to accept the results of the Electoral College is a stain on our history. And every one of those sons of who did that, we ought to find them, try them, and send them to jail.
Quick side note here. Karl Rove is a wart on the tumor of the ass of the establishment deep state. That is what Karl Rove is. And there he is defending the incarceration and prosecution of the J6ers.
And one of the critical mistakes made in this campaign is that Donald Trump has now said, I'm going to pardon those people because they're hostages. No, they're not. They're thugs. There were people, some of them had automatic weapons at a hotel in Virginia hoping to be able to be called up. We had people saying, where's Nancy Pelosi? We had people who were, taking desks and sitting at the desk of the Speaker of the House and attempting to, find people in order to bring them to justice and saying yelling at the police, kill them all. And so why Trump has done this is beyond me. If he had said, you know what? I trust our jury system. I trust law enforcement. Anybody who assaulted the Capitol ought to be. He said it once or twice, but now he's appearing in a video with people who assaulted police officers with an intent to take the Capitol by force. So, look.
Look, Karl. We all know what happened. There were instigators in that crowd who were manipulating the mob mentality. People opening up windows and opening up doors and ushering people in. Here's Mike Pence.
As hostages.
You said Mr. Trump's reckless words endangered you and your family on that day. What do you think when you hear him refer to those people facing charges as hostages and patriots?
Well, I think it's very unfortunate at a time that there are American hostages being held in Gaza. That the president or any other leaders would refer to people that are moving through our justice system as hostages, and it's just unacceptable. I was there on January 6th. I have no doubt in my mind, Margaret, that some people were caught up in the moment and that entered the Capitol, and they're certainly entitled to due process of law for any nonviolent activities that day. But the assaults on police officers, ultimately an environment that claimed lives, is something that I think was tragic that day, and I'll never do.
Yeah, Ashley Babbitt. Say her name, buddy. Say her name.
Jail with the Minneapolis, where they took over the police station. They took it over and they burned it down. By the way, what happened to those people? Are those people in jail with the J6 hostages? What happened to those people, come to think of it? They're not in jail with the J6 hostages. I don't call them prisoners, I call them hostages. They're hostages.
And that's exactly what they are. Donald Trump is going to bring all the hostages home, from Israel to Washington, D.C. Here is Jack Posobiec weighing in on that. We're going to get this to him in a second, but let's go to Tom Cotton first.
Holding hostage. Well, it sounds to me like all those terrorists holding hostages and their patrons in Iran better turn those hostages over by January 20th. This is how you get hostages back in the Middle East. This is exactly what happened when Ronald Reagan became president in 1981 after Jimmy Carter had failed to get hostages for more than 400 days. Now you have an equally weak and failed president in Joe Biden, who is going to leave office with hostages still being held unless these terrorists take President Trump at their word. I suggest they probably should.
Yeah, they probably should. Okay, just all the terrorists should be following him on Truth Social and should be listening very closely. Let's hear what Jack Posobiec had to say on this.
Of the entire breaking news, folks, we've got a huge post out from President Trump here. He says everyone is talking about the hostages who are being held so violently, inhumanely, and against the will of the entire world. Just pulling it up here so we can read this. Will of the entire world in the Middle East, but it's all talk and no action. Please let this truth serve to represent that if the hostages are not released prior to January 20th, 2025, the date that I proudly assume the office as President of the United States, there will be, in all caps, all hell to pay in the Middle East and for those in charge who perpetrated these atrocities against humanity. Those responsible will be hit harder than anybody has been hit in the long and storied history of the United States of America. Release the hostages now, in all capital letters. Folks, there's President Trump. He's throwing down. You never heard language like this from Biden. No. You never heard language like this from Jake Sullivan. You haven't heard language like this from any of them. He's being very serious here. If an American hostage is taken, again, period, full stop, that is one of our people. And if one of our people is taken, then it is the goal of the entire United States government to get that person back. Why? Because if you don't, then that means no one views you as strong. You are viewed as weak. No one will pay you any respect at all if you just allow your people to be taken off the street like that and thrown in cages. It's ridiculous. Breaking news.
That's exactly what I said, Jack. Exactly what I said. We are on the same page. Here is, I believe this is a father, Adan Alexander, father of the American hostage, Adan Alexander.
Not just a father. My name is Adan Alexander. I am the father of Adan Alexander, a 20-year-old American Israeli who has been held hostage in Gaza for 422 agonizing days. Today, I am speaking not just a father, but at the voice of my son and the other 101 hostages whose lives hang in the balance. I stand here after seeing my son alive for the first time in over a year. Thanks.
You know, this is a father pleading for his son to be returned. His son is an American citizen. And how long has it been? How long has it been since October 7th? And Joe Biden can't get shit done. The guy is a freaking absolute failure. He's pardoning his son, absolving his son of all of his sins going back to 2014, and he can't even get American hostages home. It breaks my heart to even hear this father make this plea.
this propaganda video released by Hamas. It gave us silver hope and also reignite the urgency of our plea. Time is running out. Adan is 20-year-old. He's a swimmer, a scout, New York Knicks fan, and above all, an American citizen. Every day in captivity is an eternity of suffering for him and every hostage, both physically and emotionally. President Biden, President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, I call on all of you to act. This is not a moment for politics or hesitations. This is a moment of courage, collaboration, and decisive actions. President Biden, the tools and influence of the United States are at your fingertips. Use them to negotiate a deal before it's too late.
This father is pleading with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is worthless. His son was pleading to Donald Trump. Ugh.
President-elect Trump, you do not need to wait until January to make an impact. The world is watching. Act now. Prime Minister Netanyahu, the fate of these hostages, including my son, rests in your hands. You have the power to bring them home. Do not let this opportunity slip away. Adan's words into the video haunt me. Every day here feels like an eternity. No father should hear his child plead for his life like that. He believes in the strength of the United States, so do I. But strength means nothing if it's not paired.
Oh my goodness, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see this father like this. Oh my goodness. I truly believe that Donald Trump is going to get things done before January 20th. He already is. So much is already happening. Here's Cash Patel.
Wake up and we will shut off the machinery that feeds money into Iran. We will no longer have 100 hostages still in captivity, Israeli and American and otherwise, by Hamas and Iran's Hezbollah mercenary forces. We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis and make sure we stand by our #1 ally in Israel.
That was published a day ago. Make sure Americans wake up and prioritize Israel because, of course, Joe Biden is not. He's not prioritizing Americans there either. Just the other day, I did not bookmark this, but I remember seeing it come across the feed. There was a picture of Joe Biden holding a book. I'm not sure if it was Photoshopped. It looked like it was Photoshopped, but it was basically an anti-Israel book. Basically, like, arguing that Israel shouldn't exist or something. I didn't fact check it. I didn't see if it was real or not, but it looked straight up real. But I didn't bookmark it. I didn't want to present it, but it reminds me of that. So we got some real things happening here, folks. We got Trump weighing in with this serious threat on Truth Social, saying there's going to be hell to pay if these people are not released before January 20th. Hell to pay. And then we also have all this talk about him releasing the J6 hostages as well. These are all beautiful things we can look forward to seeing on January 20th. So much is going to happen, my friends. Just pray for all these people. Pray for those that have been affected by the weak leadership of Joe Biden and all the victims from October 7th and all the people who are still in captivity. The contrast could not be clearer. While Joe Biden flees to Africa to avoid questions about his son's pardon, Donald Trump is putting America's enemies on notice. It's not just tough talk. This is the return of American strength. The kind of leadership that makes our allies stand tall and our enemies think twice. But here is what everybody's asking tonight. I'm asking you, and I want you to weigh in. If Trump is willing to take this strong stance even before returning to office, imagine what he'll do with the full power of the presidency. The world is about to remember what real American leadership feels like. So rep your support for strong American leadership with our MAGA Avengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. And let us know in the comments, what should Trump's first foreign policy move be after January 20th? Or I should say, at noon on January 20th.